everyone, and welcome to another episode of Trendy with Kim Allison. And today I have a very special guest, Hannibal. He goes by at HannyCutz on his Instagram and all of his handles. Hannibal, would you like to share your last name? Because I don't think I know your last name.
Yeah. Oh, sure. It's well. Thanks for having me. And my last name is Holt, Holt.
Okay, great. So
Yeah.
Hannibal, he's a local barber where I'm from here in Arizona. And I love the fact that he has a diverse clientele in which he provides barbering services for. Equally as I look through your Instagram, Hanny, equally as many women as men. You have children, you have the young, the seniors like me, and you've got a whole gambit of clients that walk through your door. And I thought you'd be a great guest to showcase, and your work, of course, is amazing. So let's get
Thank you.
inspired, everyone. Hanny, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate you having me on. I've seen everybody you've had on in the past, so it's a privilege.
Oh, well, thank
Yeah.
you for that. I appreciate that because I am
Of
taking
course.
on
Yeah.
a big adventure here and trying to navigate my way through. And as I say on every episode, social media is a beast, right? And so
Yeah.
I've decided to use it for the good, and I reach out to people that way, those who resonate with me, hoping that I can help the next generation of hair. And that's what I'm doing here. But of course, it's not about me today, it's about you. So let's talk a little bit, Hanny, about your background and your journey and
Uh-huh.
how you got into barbering.
Well, yeah. So originally, I'm from Detroit, Michigan. I do currently live in Arizona, like you mentioned. I've been here since about 2010. And originally, honestly, the way I got into barbering is just growing up, just not being able to always go to the barbershop and get those, like nice haircuts, professional. I kind of had family members who would take care of me, cutting my hair. And I did go to the barbershop at times, but I was always into just always looking crisp like every day. Like I was one of those kids who cared a lot about my appearance. So I'm always in the mirror, messing with my lineup every other day, messing it up majority of the time. And one day my mom just bought me some clippers for Christmas. I had to be about maybe sixth grade at max. And then I started using like professional trimmers on myself and kind of getting into cutting like my friends. I mean, even to the point where I was just like paying them to allow me to cut their hair because I didn't know how to cut, obviously. So,
Now
everybody don't
that's
trust you in
great.
that early stage.
That's great. That's
Yeah.
hilarious.
Oh, yeah. So, you got to do what you can to get those clients in the chair and get that practice. So that's kind of how I just had a love for it. I don't know what it was, but I had this like, this feeling of when I was cutting hair, I just felt like so at ease and like peaceful. And I always knew like I wanted to do it, even though, it took me a while to get here, but I definitely always had that aspiration of be,
How old
behind a chair.
What's your earliest memory of just knowing that you wanted to be a barber?
Man, just probably cutting my cousin's hair, my little cousin's hair. And when his mom would leave, we would just be at home and I would sneak and get the clippers. And I did horrible jobs. And we used to get in a lot of trouble, especially him, because she'd be mad that he let me do it. But yeah, just laughing at just how much I used to just mess him up. And he was one of those cousins where, we were so close. He was like, yeah, go ahead. Like, I don't care. Like,
And
so
were you
yeah,
guys,
just probably those funny moments.
yeah, were you guys like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10? What around about?
At this time, I was probably about maybe 12.
I love it. And I'm sure,
Yeah.
we know how it is to be raised by a black mom. So you get them
Oh,
clippers
yeah.
out and them scissors and start messing
Oh,
each
yeah.
other up. They come for you, don't they?
Yeah, because they got to fix it after that, but not mine. She was like,
Oh,
you got to go to school and wear it. It's your hair.
yes.
So, yeah.
So now that you've come into barbering, as I said in the intro, you do a multicultural clientele. So how did you make your way into other ethnicities as far as haircutting is concerned?
Yeah. Believe it or not, I didn't. So I started cutting predominantly, black people's hair. I grew up in Detroit. It's 90% black in my neighborhood and the city. So that's all I kind of knew. Even in college, I went to a HBCU, so I'm cutting all my friends' hair in college. So I had the black clientele down, the more more coarse hair, curly. I kind of had that down. I wouldn't say perfect, but I felt comfortable with that. And when I moved to Arizona, I actually didn't. I'm sure we'll get to this at some point, but I actually didn't cut hair right away here. I kind of just started doing it about maybe 6 years ago professionally. So for a while, I never even touched the clipper while I was living here. So once I got into a barber school, it was actually a predominantly Hispanic barber school, and 90% of the people come in there had straight hair. And I remember my instructor, he told me, he would see me every time a black person came in, they would kind of gravitate towards me because I was only the only one in there at the time. And he told me, like, I don't want to see you cutting any black people hair. I want everybody who sits in your chair, I want you to do straight hair. And it kind of forced me to learn it, honestly. And the more I did it, I actually grew to love doing it just as much as I do any other ethnicity. So, and also just using like the shears and, the clipper over comb, all of that. It was kind of fascinating for me because it was new and it was something fresh for me. So
Where
I would
did
say
you
definitely probably. Mhm.
where did you go to school?
It was called Arizona Barber Styling College. It's a funny story about that, but yeah, that's where I went.
Yeah, tell me the funny story. I'm
Well, I
all
was gonna say
ears.
the funny story is I went to school and it was hard for me to go to school consistently. The school I went to was kind of one of those, you come in and you could come and go as you please, pretty much, like you create your own hours, which it benefited me, but at the same time I had a newborn at the time, and it was hard for me to, and I had a full-time job, so I was there pretty much only on weekends. So it took me a lot longer to complete than the typical student would. And honestly, even after I completed it, it took me years to even get my license because I kind of stopped cutting hair. I was in this phase of trying to figure out what I wanted to do. I went to like Mesa Community College to get like my EMT and be a firefighter. And once I got that done, I never ended up going forward because of COVID and just having a change of heart, just figuring out what I really wanted to do. I was personal training. So I was kind of all over the place, just trying to figure out what it was that was for me. So I didn't end up getting my license until a few years ago, honestly. And that's when I started taking it serious. I quit my full-time job 2 years ago and just kind of went all in. So yeah, it was kind of weird how I went about my situation with like schooling and everything.
Well, I always say hair can find us. I'm telling you, because
Oh yeah.
for me, I worked at ASU for 10 years before I got my
Okay.
license. So,
Yeah. So
I mean,
yeah.
you just never know how you're going to find hair, but if you are meant to be here, somehow I think it
It'll
finds
pull
us, right?
you back. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's
Yeah.
talk about your techniques and your skills, which are stellar.
Thank you.
Thank God you found barbering, because if you weren't cutting hair, oh my goodness, I'm sure your clients would be um,
Yeah.
missing something great. So let's
Oh yeah.
talk first, Hanny, because barbering, like I talked to another barber, Soren Roy, and he is barbers.taking.action. He's in New York City.
Okay.
And barbering has I'm a hairdresser, right? I'm a cosmetologist. So we used to think we're here, and then you barbers, you're kind of like here, but now somehow barbering is here. Now
Yeah.
we're all kind of on an equal playing field, and
Yeah.
barbering is
It's funny
intricate.
you mentioned that.
You know what I mean? I've gone to hair
Yeah.
shows where the barber is the one that's got the audience.
Still in the
And
show.
then
Yeah.
the girl over
Platforms.
there, yeah, and the girl over there painting rainbow highlights. There's like four people standing there, So it's the
Yeah.
tide has definitely shifted. So with all of that, let's get into your beard work and how in the world, where do you even start? When you look at a face just full of hair, or it's blotchy, or you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
where do you
I know what
start?
you mean.
Where does
How do
your
you see that
eye?
end result? Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, like I feel like with everybody, I always have that consultation in the beginning just to kind of see what their vision is as far as like what they want to get from their haircut, especially the beard. That's probably, believe it or not, probably one of the, I would say that's like the pickiest part of a haircut, especially for men, because your beard that's part of your face. So the shape of your beard makes your face look larger, or it can kind of change the structure of how you look. So that's definitely one of the pickiest areas feel a lot of clients have for me. So I usually just first have that consultation and see what the client is kind of desiring. Some people are really particular, and some are like, use your expertise. You do what you feel is best for me. And honestly, I just go by each client, the face shape, how much hair they have to work with. Some people's beard isn't as full as the next person. So I kind of just go case by case, just based on their face structure, how much hair they have to work with, just the fullness of the beard. And yeah, I just kind of just start chipping away from there.
Do you get caught up in the trends of beards, right? So your client has seen so and so, their
Hmm.
favorite athlete, or I mean, hell, anybody can wear a beard,
Right.
CEO, whatever, and they
Yeah.
walk in with their inspo pic, and you're looking at their beard like, nah, bro. You're like, no, is this gonna work? Or have you ever had to tell somebody no, or do you just shade it all in? Is that what they do in barbering?
Honestly, I try to do a little bit of both. You do want to feel like you are listening to the client, and because you get those a lot, those clients who bring something in and you're looking at them like, dude, this isn't possible with what you give me to work with. So a lot of the times I'm pretty honest. I'll tell the client like, look, I'm gonna be honest with you based on, I pulled a picture up and I'm kind of just pointing back and forth at there. I'll give them the mirror, hold it up to their face, and I'm showing them like the parts I see and explain it. And they're like, yeah, sometimes they're like, yeah, I kind of felt the same way. So yeah, just do what you think. And some are like, they think you're a superhero, like you can just make it happen. So honestly, I try to, you get caught up in those trends whether you want to or not. Everybody, they're coming in with the pigs and they want to look like this.
Who's just for fun? Who's the biggest trend? Because when I think of beards right now, and I'm old, so don't mind
Yeah.
me, but I think of Drake.
Uh-huh.
Drake.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
feel like that's the picture they're
I
bringing
get a
you.
lot of Drake. I get a lot of
Okay,
Drake. I get a lot of Instagram content creators. Like, you get a little bit of everything, and it's usually the same ones. And honestly, even if you go to my page, some of them bring the same person's beard. It might look perfect because the person has a nice beard, but again, it's not always feasible for everybody. But I do like to know what your goal is. That way, I can get closest to it as possible. So
so
I like pictures, but
you're not doing lace front beards then?
no,
Lace.
I would. I definitely would. I've referred a lot of people over to a barber here. I definitely want to connect you with him later. But yeah, I've referred a lot of people over to this person who does pretty good work. His name's Polo. So he does a lot of good like beard, the lace front beards, whatever you want to call it, the beard units, the hair units. But I definitely want to learn it because it's a market for it, and I don't. My goal is to never turn down anybody, any color, ethnicity, gender, whatever it is. I want to be able to take everybody. I don't want to turn the door down to anybody. So I'm not opposed to anything, even if I don't like it. That's not, it's like working in a shoe store. You can't sell every shoe only you like. Like everybody likes different things. So that's kind of how I look at barbering.
Good point. Very good point.
Yeah,
And, I'm the same way in my salon. I never wanted to turn anyone away. So I do all textures of hair. Maybe not all
hmm,
services, but definitely all textures. So
definitely.
you do beards, you do, as we said earlier, you do children, you do old people like me, no, you do women, men, all, everyone.
Yeah,
So let's go here. Tell me about, wow, look at that gradient. Look at that. It's just
yeah.
like flawless. How long did it take you to perfect your gradient work?
It took years. Honestly, that was something I was always like a stickler about. It's just like that blend, making sure it's not choppy, and that's something that stands out. I feel like for me, a lot of clients like, I love your blend. Like new clients, they come in, they're like, I love how your blends are, and I think that's like my strong suit fades. I love that transition. Like, that's a video. It's not edited. You know what I mean? Like it's not Photoshop. So that's something I put a lot of time into, just learning different techniques. YouTube, I mean, continue learning classes, everything. Like it took some time, but and coming up with a process, like just steps on how I do my fades, and it works for me. So that's kind of how I wouldn't say perfected because I'm not perfect at it, but
I think you're pretty close to it. I don't know what perfect looks
thank
like,
you.
but I can't find
Yeah,
flaw looking at. In fact, when I look at this gradient, I feel bad for every male client that I have. I'm like, why do you guys come to me? Please go to Hanny. Please don't come to me. I'm
yeah.
not capable. So let's talk, and then
Thank
we can
you.
go gradient literally every single photo. But
Yeah,
next, we're going to go here because you also do women's hair, which I'm
Oh
sure
yeah,
she can appreciate. I'm sure she, what did she
yeah,
tell you when she came in? Because, you know, women, we have all of these, we can go anywhere, right?
yeah,
So
definitely.
most women go to a cosmetologist or a
Salon, yeah.
salon, right?
Hmm.
So when she came to you for her haircut, if you can recall, what did she tell you? Why was she sitting in
Yeah,
your chair?
yeah. This is one of my favorite clients, honestly. She, believe it or not, she had locks a year ago, so this is like night and day for her. She wore long locks. Like I worked in a salon with someone who did all pretty much everything, free expression. Like she did, I mean, locks, braids, anything. So I worked with her, and she was the one who used to do her locks, and I used to work in there, and that's how I knew her. She knew I cut hair all the time. So when she got ready to cut her locks out, she thought of me like, oh no, I had to have you do it. She know my work. She knows me personally. So yeah, she came to me. She trusted me. She pretty much let me just kind of take the wheel. She told me what she was kind of going for, and I pretty much after that just kind of put my touches onto it. It didn't take much, honestly. It was very simple cut, but I tried to keep it, feminine as possible because a lot of women, they don't look for the same like edginess and sharp, boxy
For sure.
lineups that a lot of men like. So, we just kind of consulted just as far as like what she was looking for, and I kind of put my spin onto it. And honestly, it came out. I like the style. Now she's even, got gutsy enough to throw a little part in there here and there. So yeah,
Oh,
it's been good.
ah, shoot.
Yeah,
No, I love that. And she looks, gosh, I don't know what else you could have done different. Like it's
yeah. Thank you.
actually, yeah, it looks really nice. So she maintains this look.
Yeah, this is her consistent look. Yeah, she comes every 2 weeks. So yeah, it's been a while now that she's been wearing it that way. And yeah,
Perfect. All righty. So let's get in some more of your intricate work because not all styles and haircuts are created equal. Like for example, when let's start where he started. So when you have someone, he's ready to come out of his dreads.
yeah,
And
those
when
are.
when they come to you, when you did this for the very first time, like the first person you ever did to come out of dreads, were you terrified? Inquiry minds like me want to know.
Yeah. Honestly, when people come to me and trusted me to cut their locks, it's always scary because those locks hold a lot of just sentimental things to a lot of people, believe it or not. So every time people come to me, I'm always shocked that they trust me for one and that they're, making that move. Because when you're done, you're like, dang, I hope they don't regret it. I hope they like it. Like, this is a big change. So every time somebody come to me, first of all, I'll always block out like a few hours. I don't care. I'm not. Sometimes I don't even charge them for the extra blacked out. I just want to make sure I'm not rushed and I can take my time. But yeah, I always block out a lot of time that way I can sit there and consult with them and see what they're going for. And also, like you see in the video, I like to do a good wash before I do any of the cutting or anything.
Yeah, let's walk us through this. So he came in, he said, "Hanny, I'm ready to get rid of
Yeah,
these dreads." You guys went over,
yep,
he probably gave you an inspo pick, or did he say, "Do your thing"?
yep.
Okay.
Yeah, he gave me an inspo pick. Yep.
And so then he cuts them off. Lord knows how long he's been growing those.
Yeah.
And then what?
So I always tell people before, so usually people give me a heads up like, hey, I'm cutting my locks when I come to you for this next appointment. So I always tell people like, give yourself a couple weeks for that new growth to come in. That way you don't have to cut it straight to the scalp. So if you saw in the beginning when I cut it there, I cut the dreads off and left like a little bit on there, and I detangled it when I did the wash and the steam treatment, so that what you see now, like it doesn't look like he had locks. It looks like he just has an afro. So I usually try to prep them beforehand just so we can get the best result. We wash it, steam it, get it all detangled, and get everything in its natural state. And then from there, I'm just pretty much combing it out. I'm evening it out, making sure that everything is at the same length overall. And then I just attack it like I would any haircut with like the tapering or the line, whatever they're getting done. And yeah, he loved it. To
I
this day, he
mean,
still wears it that way.
he left. I mean, he came in looking like he had one line of work and left
Yeah,
looking like a boss. I love it. No, no,
yeah.
again, I'm
Yeah,
just
no,
joking.
yeah, I get
Yeah,
it. He knows it,
he
I'm
could be
sure.
a boss with drugs,
That's why he cut
dreads,
it.
or not. Yeah, that's why he cut it. See?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
And so now let's get into this last one here because, oh
Mhm.
my gosh, your work is so good.
Thank you.
Wow. What is the inspo? Who is she? What did she say to you to produce this masterpiece?
Yeah, believe it or not, she's one of the she's a stylist here. She actually is one of the first stylists that I started working with to learn like women's cuts, learning just a lot of different hair treatment for women, cutting, just a bunch of different classes. So I would come to her, and she taught me a lot, just like just like I said, group classes and everything. And one day she decided to. So originally, let me rewind. She used to wear her hair long on the top, and the sides were shaved, and I would just cut the sides for her. And then one day, maybe I would say this was it this past year, within the past 12 months, she reached out to me and she wanted me to cut it for her, and she was rocking it like kind of short already, so we kind of turned it into like a mohawk instead of just like the side shave. So yeah, yeah, that's how I don't want to keep throwing out names. I feel like I'm already, but I was like, I don't know if you mind it or not, but yeah, she's
No, I mean,
definitely
I love names.
oh
I
okay.
love names because we
Yeah.
this is
Oh
the
yeah, her name is
community that we're cultivating here.
yeah. I threw
Who
out a
is
few and I
she?
was like, I don't want to keep name plugging, but this is
You
Kelly
better
Marie.
keep
She
you better
she
name plug.
yeah,
Keep them
definitely.
coming. Who is
Yeah.
she?
So Kelly Marie, she owns Schwan Salon. I hope I'm saying it correctly, but yeah, she's yeah. So she's a salon owner and she does hair herself. So that's kind of how. And she did the color herself. I didn't do the color. I love doing color, but she did that herself. I just did the cut. So yeah,
Well, you never know. I slide into DMs. I
yeah.
will go
That's what I said. Yeah,
look her up and see if she's
yeah,
see what she's all about, and if we vibe, then absolutely I would
yeah.
have her
I
on.
told you I got a few people I think that would be great for this. So we'll talk afterwards about that, but definitely.
Oh my gosh, that just warms my heart. I got a warm and fuzzy. Thank you so much for that. To having that
Oh, of course.
confidence and belief in what I'm doing that you want to refer
Oh,
people to
100%.
me. So I really appreciate
Yeah,
that. Let's talk
of
about
course.
your philosophy and your approach to barbering if we haven't covered it already. But what does a typical day look like for you in the barbershop?
Typical day, just coming into the shop. At the end of the day, at the end of every shift, I try to do some light cleaning. I don't, you know how it is once you're exhausted. I just want to make sure it's not dirty, but I'm not doing like a deep clean. And I usually come in the morning before, work and make sure everything's like wiped down and just smelling good. Everything, towels are folded in the towel warmer and everything. Just getting the shop ready and getting myself mentally ready, especially those weekends. You have to be prepared for those ahead of time because they're long and you're on your feet a lot. So just me more so prepping the shop, getting everything ready, getting my mind ready. I might turn on some music or turn on Sports Center or something just to kind of just get in the mood, and then just pretty much wait for that first client to walk in. And after that, it's just like clockwork. Honestly, I forget the time. By the time I'm on like haircut 4 or 5, like I'm just kind of flowing. And I book everybody literally. It's not good, but I book everybody one after another. There's one coming and one going. Like I give myself a break here and there, like a nice lunch break. But after that, I'm like, clockwork. If somebody's running late, sometimes it can throw me off because of how close I book people. But I like to do
Mhm.
that because it gets me out of there quicker if I, keep things rolling, and it keeps me in that mood without me. You know how it is once you eat and you sit down, you kind of get relaxed. You're like, okay, it's starting to catch up to me. So yeah, my days are rolling hard. Sometimes I forget how long I've even been there, and then at the end of my shift, I'm like deep. But it's a bittersweet moment. You're like you happy about what you accomplished for the day, but you're like, oh, I'm tired. I just want to relax. So
No,
yeah, my days are just
I
really
get that. I do the same thing. I just work straight through so I don't
yep,
break momentum. When you're in a
yep,
flow, you just want them one after another. You know your
yeah,
schedule, your timing.
exactly.
How many clients do you service a day?
My goal was always I want to do 10 clients a day. That's not always feasible. I know. So you have those days. I feel like Tuesday and Wednesdays. Sometimes Wednesday are my slower days, but usually Mondays, Thursday, Friday, Saturdays. I mean, I'm anywhere from 10 to 15. But even on those slower days, I mean, I've been blessed lately where I'm not having too many slow days where I have to sneak and give myself a day off. I'll block out my calendar. But again, I'm blessed to be at that moment. And sometimes I take it for granted. I'm like, oh man, why? Sometimes you're like, dang, why they keep booking on it? But I asked for this, like this is what I prayed for, and it just kind of manifested. So I love it. But yeah, anywhere from 10 to 15 on a slow day, maybe 5 or 6.
So are we talking you about 30 minutes per client? Because now, the number 1, 2, 3 guard is gone. You guys are doing the
Yeah,
most with barbering. So
yeah.
it probably takes longer than remember it used to take like 15
Oh yeah,
minutes for a barber and they
15 to
just
30
like
minutes.
4 in
Yeah.
an hour. What is it nowadays?
Yeah, everybody's expectation, clients' expectations has risen. So, that means more time in the chair. So, anywhere from 45 to an hour. Some people I have 30. I have some people I could finish in 15 minutes, but I try to give everybody an hour. That's like my adult. For my booking system, I give adult cuts 1 hour. Kids, I usually give an hour. If I know them and I know what usually takes me a few longer, I'll give them 15 minutes just manually added to the schedule. But yeah, I would say an hour is like my sweet spot, because if I am running late on somebody, truth be told, I could cut anybody in 30 minutes, but I like to take my time and make sure I'm not rushing. So I like to have that buffer time just in case somebody's running late, or if I need to sit down after a client for 10 minutes. So
Well, it shows in the end result of your work that you take
yeah,
the
thank you.
time needed to get it right.
That's the key. Yeah. Some
Yeah.
people say I take forever. I've heard people like, "Oh, you take forever." I'm like an hour, but sometimes I'll look at their work and I'm like, "Yeah, I can see why you think that." Like, so,
Right,
but
right.
but that time helps. Believe it or not, those small details, like clients, that's where the retention comes in. So, yeah,
No, I agree. 100%. Like all of that
yeah,
personalizing after the
mhm,
haircut and that detailing, that's what separates you and makes you from it takes you
right,
from being good to being great,
exactly. Yeah,
you
that's where
know?
you separate yourself.
So what does an average haircut cost today? Because I know when
Yeah,
barbers were busting them out every 15 minutes, it was like $15. But now, if
10 bucks.
you're taking a
Yeah,
full hour, what is a barber
yeah.
cut cost these days?
Honestly, for me, I feel like I'm one of them. I'm definitely, I've seen the industry locally, and just I've always price watched people just to kind of make sure I'm within the same range as other barbers. I don't try to match them, but I just want to make sure that's how I feel like any business owner. If you sell coffee, you're going to look at the next coffee shop and see what they're charging. So I'm at $45 for a men's cut,
45. Yeah, you
and I
should
feel like
be.
I'm actually at a very fair price. Yeah, I mean, most of the barbers here, believe it or not, I mean, there's 60 and up, and I see why, a lot of the times, but I feel like I'm blessed enough that my clients take care of me. I don't want to get into like, oh, what they tip me, but I get paid, a lot more than what I charge. And I think that's because the client sees what I charge and how I work. And they're like, man, here, like I've had people like, oh, that's it. Like, so yeah, I get really well taken care of. I never feel like I need to press the issue about my pricing. Everybody usually I have a great clientele. Like my clients it's crazy. I've had the same clients since I've been cutting hair in the garage to this day. And I feel like I've molded my clients to be kind of the way I am. I know a lot of people used to tell me like, "That you got some of the coolest clients. Like they're kind of a reflection of you." Like, and that's how it should be for any type of stylist or barber. You got to know who your clients are.
Oh, absolutely. And if you build a clientele, a loyal following, that's exactly who they are. People
Yep.
that you guys kind of feed off of each other. You're cut from the same
Exactly.
cloth, is
Yeah.
the way I like to put it.
Yep.
Now, let me ask you this. Now that barbering has risen to the top, how do you stay motivated and keep your skills sharp in this competitive industry? Because as you said, some barbers charge 60 and up, yada yada. So you want to be competitive, but you also,
Right.
the price always has to match the skill set, right?
Yeah. The
So
skill set in the market.
how do you stay motivated and where do you get your training and your inspiration?
One thing about me, my Instagram, my whole feed is other barbers, other stylists, and a lot of times it's people who don't cut like I cut. It's people who have a completely different clientele. They have completely different styles. So I try to learn from other people. I've DM barbers directly, asking them questions. I've paid barbers to, allow me to shadow them. I've taken classes to this day. I'll pay for a class. I don't care. I'll go pay for a class if it's somebody that I look up to and I like their work. I'll definitely pay to learn, because I'm all about continuous learning or continued education. That's something I would never stop doing. Just even YouTube. I mean, just going on YouTube and learning different techniques, because the moment you feel like you got it, like that's when you start to decline. So Yeah, especially getting older, you got to see what a lot of these younger guys are doing too, because it's definitely, I don't want to say it's a young person's game, but if you don't stay on top of your stuff, it can become that. So yeah, it's room for everybody, but for you to retain your clients and remain going upward, you definitely got to understand the trends, understanding what's in style, understanding what clippers are are up and coming, because that all matters too. Believe it or not, it's not everything, but it helps and it matters. So yeah, I do a lot of YouTube, I do a lot of Instagram, just watching, admiring, and a lot of face-to-face, hands-on classes, everything. So yeah, that's kind of how I stay sharp, and that's how I stay motivated too. Just seeing those people coming out of nowhere. You'll see like these great barbers come out of nowhere, 100,000 followers, which don't mean nothing, but at the same time, it keeps you on your toes. You're like, okay, cool. Let me see what they're doing. Like if they're getting this type of traffic. But I try to focus on myself at the same time. That's a big key point.
Yeah, I like that because you're right. As nice as it is that we are seasoned and that we have something that we can pass down, they really are the future of our industry, and they always bring a little new twist on something, right?
Flair, yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
because if you think about fashion, a bell bottom from the 1970s looks very different when a younger designer brings it back in the
Right.
2000s, right?
Yeah.
So it takes the whole village to keep our industry
Exactly.
strong, but it also comes with a lot of ego. Our industry,
Yep.
people, whew, boy, I digress. I'll leave that there. That could be a whole episode
Yeah, I've heard you
on.
in some of your past interviews talk about it, so I know what you mean.
Yeah, I can't with that because I'm like, we all started somewhere and we're all doing the same thing. So,
Mhm.
I mean, and I thank you for listening to some of my interviews.
Oh yeah,
What
definitely.
do you
I
think?
think it's dope. I loved it.
Oh,
I was nervous. I was like, man, am I gonna like? I was really nervous. I have a list of things to just make sure, but I'm like, I don't feel like I need it now. I like how it kind of is naturally flowing. It's easy to talk. So yeah, I love your interviews, and it's different people. I mean, different. You can tell just everything is every person I've seen you interview is different and come from different backgrounds and do different things. So I like it a lot, and yeah, it definitely kind of helped me prepare myself for today. But I didn't. It feels natural today, so I didn't need to do too much prepping.
oh, that means the world because really that's what it's supposed to be, a conversation between two hairstylists.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, this is what we do with our clients, so it's natural.
And your story is very similar to mine. So I definitely know we are part of the same tribe because
Oh yeah.
I diverse clientele. I also understand that I know my place in my role. I also respect young talent as well as seasoned talent. And, I don't like just an unprofessional environment. I
Hmm.
hear you don't either.
Oh no, not at all.
Yeah, so all of that, I love. So thank you again for that. That means a lot because you
Yeah, of
always
course.
wonder on your platforms if anybody's listening, anybody watching, and that's really not what it's about. It's not
Oh yeah.
about me building a business. This is just
Hmm.
what I want to do after 29 years in the industry. This is what I
Yeah.
want to do because I love it and I'm passionate and I always have been. To help the next generation. So
Yeah.
what
Thank
speaking
you. It's
of
a need for that.
my yeah, speaking of my newbies who I love, what advice, Hanny, in your experience, would you give what's the one thing that every barber should know, would you say?
Should know. I would say. I'll just give it as far as like coming off as advice. I would say, which we kind of just touched on, but just remaining egoless, because that can be your downfall. Thinking that you are up here, and then just following the trends and the numbers on excuse me, the numbers on social media. Like, just remain humble and always be open to learning, even if you don't. I've had people give me suggestions that I know, I'm like, it didn't even, I wouldn't say apply to me, but it's like, okay, I didn't really need to hear, but I listen and I'll accept it as if I've waited for that information my whole life. So always be open and listening. You don't have to take it, but be open and listening and learning. And also, understand your clientele, understanding who you want to appeal to. The saying all money is not good money. That's a real thing. Like
Yeah.
sometimes you gotta know when to close that door. So yeah, I would say just remaining egoless and being open to always learning. Like I mentioned about just continue learning. Like always be open and taking advice or just reaching out to people. Don't ever be scared to open your mouth. I don't care who it is. Always open your mouth because if you're like me, like I love when people ask me questions. I'm like, dang, you care what I think? Like so always, always be open to that. And yeah, just know who you want to be and understand who your clientele is. I would say to any young barber, don't get caught up in the trends. The basics is honestly what I learned the most. I'm sorry I'm rambling, but what I've learned this far
No,
in barbering is the
ramble.
basics is what's yeah, the basics is what's going to take you far. Sticking to the basics, the stuff you learned day one, and also taking advice from those seasoned barbers. Those are the ones they're seasoned for a reason. So yes, into the basics and taking advice from those seasoned barbers, not just the young bucks, but everybody. So yeah.
Yeah, it's true because that's what you do when we absorb so much information because it just keeps coming, right? We're
Yeah.
streaming, we're there's social media, all this stuff. Everybody has an opinion, and sometimes you get an information overload and you don't know what to believe or which way to go. That's why it's really important, to your point, to know who you are in this industry
Yep.
first. Then you'll know who to receive from.
Hmm.
So I agree. What is your favorite tool? Like if you had to, are there any specific tools or techniques that you think are essential for new barbers to master?
Yeah, I would say just mastering just like shears or scissors, whatever I know salon or stylists and barbers, they kind of tend to call them different things. But yes, the shears and the comb and mastering the basic things because when you're in barber school, a lot of schools don't even allow you to use guards. So just mastering the basics, learning how to use shears for one, learning how to use clipper over comb because you might get in a situation where it's happened to me. I'll come to the shop and forgot my bag at home with my clippers in them. So you got to be able to use what you have. And I usually try to have enough clippers to be able to leave some in the shop and some at home, but you never know. Or you might be out and somebody might need a cut and they're willing to pay some good money. So
Yeah.
sometimes you're like, oh, all I got is this and this. So yeah, just being able to learn, or not learn, but use the basic tools like a clipper and a comb and some scissors. So I would say that's my number one thing. I would say just stick to the basics, learn those
Well, you
skills.
just you just said some. I leave some here, some at home. I have
Yeah.
one of each.
Oh man, I have a clipper
You're probably
graveyard.
like, "Oh my
I
god,
have
that is."
clippers. Yeah,
What's your
that's the barber
favorite
industry for you. It's
What's your favorite clipper brand? Do you have a favorite clipper like that you
that's
would
tough.
say if they said,
Oh
okay,
yeah,
I don't
yeah,
know how many brands there are. Hanny,
yeah.
you got to pick one brand. What is the
I would
brand?
say Andes. I
Still.
love a lot of the new brands. Yeah, I love a lot of the new brands like Babyliss is they're taking over. That's I use Babyliss more than Andes, but I would say Andes they never failed me. Like I've never you can use these clippers for 100 years and I always end up picking them up at some point in my day. I would have said Babyliss just because I love where they're going with the innovation of clippers, but I got to give respect to Andes because they've been around before I was born and they're continuously, coming out with new clippers. But their old and faithfuls are always. I mean, they'll never lead you wrong. I mean, these new clippers, they're cordless. I mean, they don't have. They're just wired, wireless and battery power. So they die on you. They might malfunction. And you'll find yourself in a real pickle if you if you something go wrong with them, and that's all you have. So keep some of those old clippers on hand. So I would
Oh
say
yeah.
Andes is definitely one that I'll never stop using.
So two things. So one,
Hmm.
Oster.
Oster.
Oh, why? They're dead then. They ain't the, because with my
I
old
can't say I have a
self,
pair of Oster.
I you don't have that.
They're not dead. They're not dead. I do have some Oster fast feeds. Is what I keep at home, like just to do my own. Those Oster fast feeds and the 76ers, the loud ones with the detachable blade, like those would never go away. And those are probably some of the most reliable detachable clippers. They can go through bulk like nothing before. So I don't think they're dead, but I think they have dropped the ball with kind of innovating because the times we're in, you got to keep up with the trend. Everybody wants cordless. Nobody wants that cord in their way. I still use my
That's
corded,
true.
but not as much.
Yeah, and you said, and the other thing I wanted to say, because this is just so funny, like with stylists
Uh-huh.
in my building and just any stylist I talk to, babbleless or babyless? Which
Whoever
one
it
is it?
is. It
I have
depends on who
asked,
says it.
you know how many people I've asked that question to? Actually, two reps. One for salon centric, and my other rep
Uh-huh.
was whatever Mecca. They said two different things. I'm like, who knows the answer?
Yeah, it just depends on. It's one of those things. Neither one is incorrect. I say both, depending on the day. So I think, and I've heard reps for both. I mean, for the same company, say it differently. So I say babyless, depending on how it comes out that day. Babyless, babyless. That's how I say it.
I'm
So
gonna
I
take a
would like that. I
poll.
would like to know that answer.
Yeah, I'm gonna put
Yeah,
a
take a
poll
poll out.
on Threads and see what people say. So let's talk a
Definitely
little
do.
bit about your challenges and growth. What are some of the biggest challenges you faced in your career, Hanny, and how have they contributed to your growth as a barber?
I would say some of my biggest challenges, I'll talk about early on and current. I would say early on was just scheduling. I tried to be part time as a barber for years. I was doing it for several years, 4 or 5 years. I call it part full time because I would come off my full time job and still cut for about 5 hours that evening till 10, 11 at night, like all day Saturday. So my biggest issue is trying to be a father and at the time a husband, and that was like my biggest struggle was just trying to be pulled in each direction and actually give 100% in every area, and it was hard. You lose clients. One thing about being a barber, you do get to set your own schedule, but you best believe you'll be in on those busy days that people like cuts Fridays and Saturdays. You don't get to take those off until you get to a point where you can,
Mm.
you've structured your life and you've, worked your ass off to, step away from the chair and still generate income. But yeah, my balance of just being in the shop and retaining clients, that was tough. It took me some years, and I, that kind of put me where I am today, honestly, because those clients who stuck with me at those times, those are my best. Like, man, I have so many clients from that day. Like, I love my clientele. They know me. They know my kids. I'm talking about since they were babies. So it's crazy how far I've come. But yeah, that was some of my biggest challenges is just trying to grow my clientele. And I realized, like, dude, you can't grow as much as you want until you dive head first in it and just become full time. I don't care what nobody say. You can't be 1 foot in, 1 foot out. If you aspire to be booked up, 5 days a week, however you want to look at it, you definitely got to give your all, every day and just be available. That's the biggest part is just being available. So that was my biggest struggle is being available to my clients. But, you know, um, yeah. And I would say today, my biggest struggle, I wouldn't say my biggest, but one of my recent struggles was my booking, like booking apps. I didn't give in to a booking app until about a year ago, and that's been a lifesaver. I wish I was not so stubborn and did it earlier, but I love knowing who was booked and like doing it myself, and it was a headache. I started to like resent clients, like, dude, why are you texting me? But that's how I was booking my clients. So yeah, until I gave in to that Barber app that got everybody on board, my clients were like, dude, I love this. This is what I've been waiting for. You get a few, people here and there like, I don't like it, but for the most part, like it's been a lifesaver. I just look, get a booking, I'll approve it, and I'm going about my day, and my hours are what they are. So there's no back and forth. What about this time? Oh, I'm not free that time. I got a dentist appointment.
Exactly.
Like so, yeah,
And
that was my
they
latest
can,
struggle.
when we think of it, sometimes it's midnight. They
Yeah,
can jump on, book it at
yeah,
midnight. You don't need
exactly.
me now, right?
Right, because I've had
Yeah,
people message me at midnight. So yeah,
that is. I
yeah,
can't even with the clients sometimes. But again,
yeah,
most people, we only care about ourselves, honestly,
yeah.
even when we're in the world trying to be nice.
Hmm.
You can go back in time, Hanny. What advice would you give to yourself when you were just starting out as a new barber?
I would
Like
go back.
now you're talking to baby Hanny, the young barber
Yeah,
Hanny. And if there's one
I would.
thing you would go back and say, like Back to the Future, okay,
Yeah,
Hanny,
I
do
was. I would say
this.
two things.
Okay, two things.
Yeah, I would tell young Hanny. Thing number one is learn everything you can about everything outside of barbering. Like, because now I wish I knew how to. I see a lot of barbers who do a lot of women clients. I wish I knew how to do a lot more than I do. I could do a little bit, but I would definitely diversify myself a lot earlier in my career and kind of come out the gates, being more diverse with women, men, everything. I didn't pick that up until later. So I wish I would have started off earlier. That way I was a lot more comfortable now and knew a lot more techniques. Maybe even went to cosmetology school or something like. Um, that's definitely something big. I would say just learning everything and not sticking to just the fades. I got to get the fade right. So yeah, that's thing number one. And then thing number two, I would say is being more firm on your policies and being more firm with your pricing and scheduling and just not being so. It's okay to be a little flexible, but it was to the point where I was allowing people to run over me based on me being so lenient, and I kind of set myself up for that. So just telling my younger self to be firm. Don't be one of those asshole client or stylists or barbers who like, no, I'm not doing it. It's okay to be flexible. That's how I've grown a lot too. Is just being flexible. People appreciate that, but also being firm and having boundaries is what I would say. So yeah, I would say
Yeah, because you have
is key.
some that I'm guilty of being I'm a stickler because I set my price and that's what it is.
Mhm.
And I'm like, just look at the thing, that's how much it costs, right? Then I don't
Yeah,
have to say it because I'm an emotional charger. Like my emotions get
yeah,
involved, then I'm gonna change the price, lower it, whatever. So
yeah,
yeah, you gotta be firm. Absolutely.
yeah,
What are your
yeah.
future goals for your career, Hanny? Are there any specific milestones that you're aiming for?
Yeah, my goal has always been. I know a lot of people um, in the industry. Their ultimate goal is always to open up a shop. I've never wanted to open a shop. I have my own shop now, but it's just me, and I don't have any employees under me or other barbers. But I want to open a school, and I don't want it to be like the typical school. I want it to be more focused on, obviously the cutting, but also just like helping with like what we're talking about, helping people understand pricing, marketing, helping you understand who your clients are, just like all the behind the scenes stuff that people have to pay to learn now, or either pay a cost to learn just by just continuously messing up. And so I would want to have like a new age like type of school, like I feel like the old traditional way of schooling, most people don't learn from school. Like you learn from being in the shop and hands on, getting those repetitions. So I would definitely. I love teaching. Anytime I get a young kid or somebody who's like, "Yo, I want to," parents will hit me up like, "Hey, my kid wants to be a barber. You mind if they shadow you?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, please." Like I love teaching people. I love talking about barbering. Like I could talk about it for days. So that's always been a goal of mine, is to open a school of some sort. And yeah, that's what I will
Oh,
do
that's
someday.
amazing. I can see you doing that. I
Yeah.
actually have a nephew. One of my nephews is a barber, and I may have him on one day. He's young.
Okay.
He started
Nice.
cutting hair when he was in the eighth grade, like his friends, and that's ended up being what he went into, and he's really good at it. So let's talk quickly about your personal insights because I
Okay.
know you're a father. So, how do you balance your professional life with your personal life? Like creating that, which I ask everyone, that work life balance.
Yeah, that doesn't exist, but you aim for it, but I don't feel like it exists. But yeah, I have two boys. I have an 11-year-old boy and a 7-year-old, and I love being a father. Anybody who knows me, they know me more for being a father than a barber. So even my
Oh,
clients, like yeah, my clients, they know if I got something going on with my kids, like, hey, what other day you got? Like they know. So I have my boys 1 week on and 1 week off. So honestly, I have 1 week where I'm not in the shop past 3 o'clock. I get out. I don't care who it is, what they're paying. Like, I try to devote my time to my kids. And I know a lot of people, the philosophy is no, I got to put put the food on on the table. You got to sacrifice. But I don't. I look at things differently. I don't sacrifice my time with my kids. Like they're not going to be kids for long. So yeah. So with that, to answer your question, I have 1 week where my clients know, and on my booking site, I'm cut off at about 3 o'clock. My last client is 2 o'clock because my kids get out of school and they do football and track. So I'm a sports dad all in. So and Fridays and Saturdays I'm more flexible. I can work a little later. I bring my kids. I work in a gym. I'll just kind of give a little glimpse. Like it's a fitness center. There's people out there
oh
working
yeah,
out.
yeah.
You see, so yeah, I work in a training facility for Yeah, I work at Own Your Dreams training facility. Great staff here, and yeah, it's very kid friendly, which is why I came here. It worked out for me because it's just kind of, it was something I don't know, I passed up on it before when I had the opportunity. I wouldn't say passed up, but it was presented to me, and I was like, no, I don't know if it's for me. And then I thought about it one day. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Like, I don't have to have my kids sit in a barber shop or sit in my salon suite. Like, they come here, they work out, they do football drills. They can, it's a basketball hoop here. So yeah, Fridays and Saturdays, I'm more flexible with having them here a little longer. And, I don't feel bad about it because they actually enjoy it. But yeah, that's how I kind of balance it is I cut my schedule off and I make up for it the following week. It's tough, but that's the sacrifice. Opposed to me sacrificing my kid time, I sacrifice the free time, the club, the bars. I try to do that once in a while. I'm not perfect. I want to do it more, to be honest. I want more leisure time, but right now I'm trying to sacrifice just that extra spare time and make up those haircuts I missed the prior week. So I kind of got I got my clients on board. It's like they know now. They're like, yo, you got your kids this week. Like that's kind of how they, reach
I
out to me.
love
So they
that.
know. So
And I think
yeah,
that's the
it
perfect
works.
scenario for you because check it out. Like you say, they can go and play basketball and do things in the gym. Plus, there's a clientele, the
Yeah.
clients of the
And
gym.
man,
There's the
I
barber
get more
in. Well,
clientele here.
yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
I get at least two people almost every day coming here. I mean, they train soccer, track, basketball, football. Like it's 50, 60 kids here some days. So it's been a blessing. I don't know why I didn't see it before. But because I never worked in a barbershop, that's another thing. Until right before I came here, I was at a barbershop for 10 months. That was the first time I've ever worked in, and last time as
And
well.
nobody wants their kids in a barber shop. That language and that
No,
some of
yeah,
those conversations. I mean, when I
yeah,
used to, I'm a boy mom, and when I used to take my sons, okay, when I come in, they get all quiet. You know what I
oh
mean?
yeah,
But
yeah,
and then it's all weird too for the moms because all
oh
the
yeah,
men are like trying to hit
yeah,
on you. So I'm like, oh Jesus
yeah.
Christ, get me out of here.
No, for
Um,
sure. Yeah, no, yeah,
you
yeah.
know
That's
so who
definitely
needs
true.
all so I think that it's a blessing and it's also a gift to have your situation. It fits your life perfectly. That's not an accident. For those of us who
Oh
love
no,
God like myself, he
yeah.
placed you there just
Oh, 100%.
because that's where you belong. Hmm.
Yeah. And
So
my
in
kids can walk here
closing,
from
because
school. It's like right
yeah,
by everything.
and I can attest, y'all, like he told me coming into this interview, Tim, I got to be out by this time. I got to pick up my kids. So I am going to
Yeah.
respect your your
I
wishes and
appreciate
keep this
it. I didn't want
interview
to throw you off
moving.
because
No, you're
yeah.
totally fine. I everything about this interview is exactly what I envisioned it to be.
Oh,
So I
good.
appreciate you being your authentic, raw, real self.
Yeah,
That's all
definitely.
anyone can ask for, right? So at this point in the game, you've given us so much. Thank you. And the newbies, I'm sure there is a wealth of information that they can take from this interview. If they're smart, they'll pick up
Uh-huh.
on, those gems that you gave us today. So this is the time of the interview where I blast you with my 60-second blowout.
Okay.
So we're going to set the timer for 1 minute because I believe that's all we got. And I am going to freely now put these on like, whoo, Lord, let there be
Oh,
light. And then
here.
we are going to, I'm gonna just ask away. You answer as fast and as best as you can. And when the timer's up, it's up. How about
Okay.
that? All right, let's get it. Best grooming tip in one word. Texting,
I would say
talking.
invest.
Okay, texting or talking on the phone.
Talking.
Favorite social media platform.
Instagram.
Straight razor or electric shaver.
Straight razor.
Favorite food after a long day.
Pasta.
Who would be your dream client to cut?
LeBron James.
Clippers or scissors.
Scissors.
Favorite haircut to give.
I would say Mohawk.
Go-to song while you're cutting hair. Early
It's
bird or
tough.
night owl?
Night owl,
Coffee or tea?
coffee,
Favorite barbering tool?
clipper,
Beard or clean shaven?
beard.
All right, you got it. Now, let's see how humble you are. Make your silliest selfie face.
Oh man.
You can't be cool about it.
No,
Yes, there you go. I love it. Well, that was so much fun. And again, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your
of
hour
course.
with me to chat about barbering. In these interviews, I also learn a ton. I mean, a whole lot. Got a
Oh
lot
yeah,
from you
I'm
today.
happy I could contribute, and thank you
Yeah.
for having me. What you're doing is needed. Is it, and I'm small. I don't have 5,000 followers. I have about a little over 1,000. But I appreciate you opening up space for people like me and others. So yeah, what you're doing is needed, and I wish you the best and a lot of growth. And hopefully
Well,
this
and
can take off. And I know you're doing it for free, but hopefully this can take
I
care of
mean,
you
you
as
know,
well.
I do it for free, but no one's going to turn down a coin, right?
Oh
So
yeah,
if it turns into where there's money, well, who's going to turn that down? But for now, this is why I'm doing it. This is just
definitely.
what I feel passionate about. And so yeah, and I have to say this just because you talked about your following.
Uh
I
huh.
do not believe, in your case especially, that the best stylist may not be the best content creator, and the
Oh
best
no,
content creator might not be the best stylist. And I
exactly.
believe that, and you are a prime example of that. So,
No, thank you.
again, have an amazing rest of your week with your beautiful boys, and we will chat again. And in fact, I think it would be neat just to have you come on another time and just talk about tools and just the
Oh
tools
yeah,
you use and what you use them for. How about that?
yeah. I thought an hour was going to be long. I was like, damn, I hope I could be entertaining for an hour, but I feel like I can go on for even more. So yeah,
Oh, we
please,
could
I
we
will
could
come back.
we could talk honestly a whole nother hour, honestly. Like I
Okay, yeah,
skipped
yeah,
over
please. I would
some.
like to come back.
Yeah, absolutely. I would definitely like to have you back for
Yeah,
sure. All right,
definitely.
guys. Until next time, you guys have a good one. We'll see you again. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.